ഡോക്ടർ സിസ്റ്റർ ജോസലിൻ എഡത്തിലിന് ബെസ്റ്റ് ഡോക്ടർ വിഭാഗത്തിൽ സ്പെഷ്യൽ ജൂറി പുരസ്കാരം ലഭിച്ചു. വടക്കേ അമേരിക്കയിൽ ലോസ് ആഞ്ചലസിലും ടൊറാന്റോയിലും വിജയകരമായി സംഘടിപ്പിച്ച ഏഷ്യനെറ്റ് ന്യൂസിന്റെ ഹെൽത്ത് കെയർ എക്സലൻസ് അവാർഡുകൾ ഇനി ന്യൂയോർക്ക്, ന്യൂജേഴ്സി, പെൻസിൽവേനിയ സംസ്ഥാനങ്ങളിലെ ഏറ്റവും മികച്ച ആരോഗ്യ പ്രവർത്തകരെ ആദരിക്കാനുള്ള അവസരമായി മാറുകയാണ്. ഏപ്രിൽ 29-ന് ന്യൂജേഴ്സിയിൽ വേൾഡ് മലയാളി കൌൺസിലുമായി സഹകരിച്ചാണ് അവാർഡ് നിശ്ചയം. ഡോക്ടർ സിസ്റ്റർ ജോസലിൻ എഡത്തിലിന് ബെസ്റ്റ് ഡോക്ടർ വിഭാഗത്തിൽ സ്പെഷ്യൽ ജൂറി പുരസ്കാരം ലഭിച്ചു.
Instead of having small dreams, I started to have bigger dreams. Dreams for souls, dreams for heaven, dreams for transformation on this earth. I'm an academic hospitalist, and when the COVID pandemic first came, many of my patients were very afraid. When I would put on my PPE on top of my habit, there was a part of me that wanted to just get in, get out, minimize the time with the patients to minimize my exposure. But when I thought about the patient, then I really realized that I should be the one to give love, spend a little bit more time with that patient, and be able to offer some hope in a place where there was a lot of fear. And so I feel like that was probably a stronger calling. When I think about prayer in general, I think about my beloved St. Catherine Drexel. She was a very prolific saint, establishing many schools and universities. And when she suffered a stroke, for the next 20 years, she was not able to do the amount of work. But she says that in those 20 years that she prayed, she did more than her active life. And so I was always inspired by that. And so in my own life, I know that that transforming power of prayer is at work in my life, and I try to pray for my patients, pray for all those I encounter every day, and use prayer in a special way that I'm called to intercessory prayer, to love other people through prayer.
My name is Sister Jocelyn, and I grew up in a Catholic family. However, when I was in middle school, I started to really struggle with my faith, and I began to wonder about the true existence of God. I attended a retreat when I was in high school, and I asked God to show me a sign that He exists. By the grace of God, I received that sign, and I had a tangible experience of the love of God. Afterwards, I became involved in my youth group, started to pray the rosary, and to read the Holy Scriptures, and slowly began to attend daily Mass. When I entered college, I began to have this nagging feeling that I was called to something different. In fact, one day, a priest mentioned to me that I would make a great sister. I had already applied to medical school and to graduate schools. So I prayed and I discerned. And by the grace of God, I entered medical school. And when I was in my clinical years, I also began to have doubts about how the Lord would use me, especially in my vocation. And so I asked the Lord again for a sign that I was called to the healing ministry. I asked the Lord to bless my hands that I could heal my patients. And 5 minutes after I prayed that prayer, I was able to have my hands blessed by the priest. I took that as a sign that the Lord was calling me to not just the vocation to the religious life, but also as a physician. After completing MD and a PhD, I went on to internal medicine residency, completed it, and began formation, and I became a sister in 2016. For the last 6 years, I have been practicing my vocation as a religious sister with the apostolic activity of practicing medicine. I give all glory to God during this Lenten season as I reflect upon the ways the Lord can use us if we just give Him some room. I'm so thrilled with the life that I have right now, and I hope that many young people will continue to pursue the life of religious as it is the life of the angels. I said, Lord, if you want me to be a sister, I will go without my parents' permission. I'm willing to do it. But then I said, Lord, but I would like to have it. I would like to have the permission. And so this went on for many years. In fact, my parents used to come visit me in my PhD years many times. And so because my sister had just gotten married, I was the next one. I was in my mid-20s. And so they would say, okay, where are you in your discernment? And I would say 80-20, 80% of you none. And I'm like, oh, sometimes I'd be 70-20. The most I ever got to the married life was 50-50. And my mom was so happy, 50-50, thank God we haven't tried. I made charts, and I was such an academic person, you know, so I made a chart. I'm like, well, if I do this, then this is what I would have to do if I do that. But they were very supportive despite all of that. So I had some of the aunties at church tell me pretty clearly, you know, we know nuns don't do it, because they only saw the negative, because they probably only heard some negatives from the externals, but they didn't know the joy of it. And so I had a lot of people who made fun of me, you know, who said, well, you don't know Malayalam, you can't do it. I had some people who say, you can't be a nun, you know. They said to me, you silent prayer, never. But with God, all things are possible. So I felt that, it made my vocation stronger. And then finally, my mother was approached by the superior general, the mother general, and asked my mom, and I didn't know this till years later, and she had said, well, she's 27, do you finally agree? And my mom's like, well, now she's of age, let her decide what she wants. So I think that there's a lot of societal pressures, and especially if you come from like a smaller nuclear family, only 1 or 2 children. We have, in my batch, we had at least 2 or 3, only one boy, 1 girl, and the girl became the sister, but the boy wanted to be a priest, or vice versa, you know. And one of my batchmate, actually, she's, a sister now, and her brother's going to be a priest soon, and there's no children. So God sometimes asks, and then her mother has it like a saying. She's like, well, if God calls both of my children, I'm happy, take them. Very much influenced by the Sehion ministry as well. So I feel like God really, He will give us the strength. So many in our congregation had to struggle. We have one sister who, on the day of her marriage, she ran away to the convent. But she is one of these amazing sisters who will always speak. This is the beautiful life, and so she has no regrets because she had to suffer in her family. And so, if it is God calling you, He will give you the strength to overcome whatever family pressure.